Happy November, everyone inside of Cave Arena and viewers of the Piedmont University Athletics YouTube channel. Simon Johnstone, joined by Grant Prather here to bring you the season opener at home for your Piedmont Lions men's basketball team. They're coming off a historic season where last year they actually set the regular season wins record for their program. 16 wins was the number. Today they're going to be taking on Johnson & Wales University, the visiting team who, Grant, we looked at the stats, and they've got some pretty impressive players.
Yeah, rebound leader Jalen Benson Hollandhead averaging 17 boards a game. Going to be a problem against this Piedmont starting lineup where their tallest player is 6'4", 6'5".
And we were looking at the starting lineups, which are getting introduced right now, and there's one freshman in particular we thought were going to start, and there was a bit of a change in decision leading up to this matchup. That is freshman Tripp. Freshman Tripp, who is standing near 6'8", 6'9", so about 5 inches lost in the starting lineup, but an exciting return who just walked onto the court is Javi Marlowe. He missed the majority of last season with a foot and ankle injury. It's exciting to see him back because we know what he's capable of.
Yeah, only played one game last year, and a good force in the offensive and defensive end, really athletic, so a good piece that the Lions have back.
And speaking of returns, there's not actually a lot. It was a pretty big turnover from the senior class of last year. Some returners to note in the starting lineup is Griffin Neville, Javi Marlowe, like we talked about, Bailey Wiseman, and rounding out the returners is Fisher Darden at midcourt right now. But a lot of lost presence, especially in the front court for the Lions, Grant.
Yeah, Jolly and Reardon both lost after the offseason. Two big offensive pieces, but this Lions lineup is fast-paced. Like I said, not the tallest lineup in the world, but they will run you out of the gym.
Yeah, they don't look to get boards, obviously losing players like Jeremiah Carter-Johnson, Joe Hellenbrook, and of course Devin Dean, who actually is still playing college basketball at Bob Jones University. But a huge change, an entire almost new starting five outside of Fisher Darden. 4 players who usually aren't getting the starting looks are now starting this season, as we will kick off the starting lineups here. First for the Lions, Grant, who does head coach Greg Dealey have out there?
You got Griffin Neville, Javi Marlowe, Bailey Wiseman, Dylan Patrick, and Fisher Darden all play a different role, and keep that speed up.
And for Johnson & Wales, you have Natambu Calhoun, number 0. Joined alongside him is Jordan Appling, Nathan Machida, Ethan Smith, and number 23, the big man down low, is Jalen Benson Hollandhead. Lions going to come out in their impressive zone defense. We saw a lot of it last year, and it was fairly effective. And with the height mismatch that we spoke about, is the zone the right play, would you say?
I think for the format of this team and the height that they have, it does work because zone is based off of speed and getting out to close out on shooters, and that works well for the Lions.
Rebounding is going to definitely be one key focus here, as Wiseman now has it at the top of the key. Going to find Marlowe. Marlowe with a huge height mismatch, but maybe using his athleticism to get the disparity there. Hollandhead picks him up. Up top is Dylan Patrick. Kicked out, three-pointer, no good. Early stages, Lions did have 2 exhibition games before their first counting game, which is this season opener. Grant, you looked at the stats for both their first 2 games, and what did you notice?
Well, obviously defense was an issue, but it was a D1 team in Winthrop with Jolly, the former Lion, on that team as well, so he was able to pick apart the Lions. Lions get up 125 points in that contest, so you can't say it was expected, but the defense definitely does need to step up today.
And we also had a chance to see them inside Cave Arena in a little bit of a closed scrimmage. Now, obviously nothing was recorded. It's one of those things teams just do to figure out and work on some things they played against each other. You see it in Midnight Madness with Duke. Anything you picked up there that caught your eye?
I think a lot of good connections being formed off the bat. There's a lot of freshmen on this team, and they need to get connected early, and that's definitely what they did in that scrimmage.
And one thing I noticed as well is the energy just seemed turned up a little bit. It felt very methodical last year. I mean, when you have a lot more presence inside, you're able to slow down the pace of play, as Hollandhead throws one down early to get the scoring started for Johnson & Wales. And with the lack of interior presence, in terms of height at least for the Lions, I think that pace of play being increased might be the answer for them going forward.
Yeah, it definitely works, especially going against number 23, obviously, Benson Hollandhead. They're going to need to get a lot of steals from Johnson & Wales as guards to help them out.
Patrick drives inside, little heavy on the layup, no good. Rebound Hollandhead. 2-all in the early going here for your season opener for the Lions. Deflected by Wiseman. And it looks to be a Johnson & Wales turnover. Calhoun, the intended recipient of the pass, may have been standing out of bounds to receive it. Full court press brought out as well by Johnson and Wales. Appling, the one to pick up Patrick full court. Patrick continuing with it, gets a good screen by Marlowe, drives inside with the left hand, no good. Marlowe there on the tip back. Received once again by Hollenhead, who's limping a bit down court. Darden picking up Appling. Dump down low. That's going to find the hands of Ethan Smith for his first points of the game. Patrick continuing to get pressured by Appling. Wiseman now with it. We know what kind of a scorer he is. Goes to the elbow and drops in the mid-range for two. Lions also bringing a high court press here. Still maintaining their essentially 1-2-1 shape. That is their full court press. Right-handed floater, no good. Rebound, Neville. Neville brings it up court, finds Wiseman on the wing. Back out to Neville, thought about the three. Patrick now with it, top of the key. Wiseman, good screen. Marlowe pops, corner, thought about it. Drives inside, dump to Patrick. And they have numbers here. Goes up is Wiseman on the elbow. Thought there was a foul, no call. 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Little spin move at the free throw line, no good by Darden. And the Lions on a possession that looked to have a lot of scoring opportunities, didn't come through with any. Yeah, they didn't really seem to want to get a shot off there. It took them way too long. They had a lot of good opportunities, but pump fakes kind of slowed them down. Good defensive presence once again by the Lions. Machida, the one to let that ball go out of bounds for Johnson and Wales. Early substitution here. Two new players check in for the Lions. Caleb Lesh, number 23, and Tour Overton, number 14 for the Lions. Continuing the press, up top is Ethan Smith. Swings it outside to Appling, his three-pointer, no good. Rebound by who else but Hollenhead. Able and trying to use his height to his advantage here. Johnson and Wales driving, kicking outside once again. Appling drives in, Fisher with the steal. 3-on-3 break. Dumped inside, Javi Marlowe can't contain the pass. Finds the hands of Griffin Neville, who takes the elbow jumper, a little short there. And after a brief discussion with the referees, it's going to stay Lions ball. Media timeout in our under 16. And Grant, we talked about the pace of play, and my goodness, it has seriously been flying in the early going. It's been flying, but not a lot of scoring. It looked like the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, a lot of punches not being landed. 4-4 in over 4 minutes, so not a lot of results to the scoring, but it is early on. Teams are kind of getting their bearings, so eventually look to see a little bit more scoring. And what are you noticing on the offensive end for the Lions? It looks like they're getting good looks. Is it shots not falling? Do you think they're one pass away? I think they're a little bit scared to shoot. They've had great fast breaks off of great steals, but there's been a lot of opportunities where they've just been a second away from shooting a three and having a great look at it, but they decide to pull it out, pass it out. And those who love statistics know the mid-range isn't usually the highest percentage shot. It's actually been the most attempted shot for the Lions thus far. But another bright spot I want to point out quickly for the Lions is the presence Javi Marlowe has down low. I mean, like we talked about, the height disparity is very apparent, especially when you can see it on the screen with Hollenhead down low for Johnson and Wales. But Marlowe's holding his own, getting a lot of hands on offensive rebounds. Yeah, Marlowe especially, but also the rest of these Lions, Griffin Neville too, have been playing very scrappy in the paint, which is what they need to do when you have a 4 or 5 inch height disparity in the paint. End of the media timeout has concluded. Lions will be inbounding the ball here on their side. Same starting group out for Johnson and Wales. No substitutions yet. And if we know one thing about head coach Greg Neely, it being his 12th season now, is he likes to utilize his bench. He wants to keep his players fresh, and obviously with the type of presence that he has defensively, it's a good strategy. Yeah, at the start of the season, he preached a team mentality. You know, he said that certain guys could show up night by night, but at the end of the day, you got to preach a collective mentality because, again, with this team not being that tall, you have to spread the ball around. Overton with the ball, working down the wing now. Drives inside. The lefty tries for the up and under. No good. Appling there to get the board. Appling going to swing it out to Calhoun. Back to Appling, trying to work through this pressure zone that is the Lions' defensive structure. Smith now has it on the wing, going to swing it over to Appling. Three-pointer, a little short, rebound Calhoun. Appling going to try once again from deep. Short once again, Darden with the board. Slow start for both teams in the early going. Marlowe going to dump it off to Lesh, who thought about the three. Overton, kick out to Marlowe. Marlowe's going to go from deep. Rattles off the rim, no good. Nishida now bringing the ball up for Johnson & Wales. Drives inside, picked clean by Marlowe, who's got numbers now. 4-on-1 is the fast break. Caleb Lesh goes inside, behind the back dime. Marlowe, little too long in the layup. And what should have been 2 free points, Grant, has turned into a disaster.
And 2 free points missed there, but they've also missed 4 other free points in layups. There's been a lot of layups that have just totally bowled around the rim and have really just messed with the Lions' momentum.
Big substitution here for the Lions. Once again, 2 players check in. Overton inbounding for the Lions. Lesh now with the ball on the corner. Works to the free throw line. Little step back J over Calhoun's good. And we know Caleb Lesh is a spark plug for the Lions, Grant. He did it all year last year, and obviously with now some experience at the varsity level, are we expecting a bit more from him this year?
I think so, yeah. Obviously, as a sophomore last year, he had a lot of shooting opportunities, and I think this year he's going to have an even bigger role. Mid-range three-pointer, really can score from anywhere.
Johnson & Wales still held at 4 points. The zone seems to be working for the Lions. Caleb Lesh with another bucket. He's got 4 in the early action. Lions not backing down from this high pressure defense. Picking up there is Silas Mulligan on Ethan Smith. Smith gets the turnaround in front of Mulligan now. Short on the short J. And the Lions continue to held the advantage. Mulligan swings out to Neville, driving inside. Little dump off to Thompson, and Trip Thompson says thank you very much for his first 2 points in a counted game. Big things are expected from freshman Trip Thompson, and it was almost a scary start to the season for Trip Thompson. Grant, during that scrimmage, a bit of a scare we saw.
Yeah, with about a minute left, he took a tough hit. Obviously, he's okay now, so thankful for that. But like you said, big expectations. He's 6'8", but he plays on the wing. He's really athletic, really versatile.
He's that new generation type of big. He can stretch the floor if need be. Very a la Hellenbrook, like we saw. He could shoot the three-pointer as well. 10-7, Lions still lead by 3. Thompson's going to pick it up high on the wing. Overton now with the ball. Close out by Johnson & Wales, enough to rattle Overton, and that ball lands just short. Calhoun now with Johnson & Wales. Swings out to Smith. Looks down low, finds short corner. Back up top for Calhoun. Pump fakes the 3, drives inside. Couple steps, and we're going to see a foul against Silas Mulligan down low. Two new substitutions in for Johnson & Wales. Javon Andrew checks in, and along with him is Nichols Levy. So outside of Calhoun, 4 new players from the bench are in for Johnson & Wales. Wiseman and Patrick check back in for the Lions. Calhoun with it, working up top, splits the defense. Thompson picks him up, swings outside to Worthen, and picked clean on the pass. Wiseman's got the fast break. Patrick's on his short left. He goes up and under, and a free 2 points there for Bailey Wiseman. Lions' defensive presence continues to keep their lead intact. Patrick and Wiseman up top for the Lions. Calhoun splits the defense. Andrews' three-point attempt no good. Mulligan with the board. Lions looking to push tempo once again. Wiseman's got it on the wing. Screen to be set by Thompson on the roll. Wide open on the pop. Thompson's gonna fire one from deep, no good. And after a jostle between a couple of players, off the tip hands of Johnson & Wales, and Lions gonna maintain possession. Second media timeout in the first half. Lions lead by 5. Grant, if we're looking at this in sections between the first media timeout and the second, a bit of an improvement from the Lions, would you say?
Yeah, offensively, definitely. Taking a lot more shots, being a lot more confident. I also think pushing the tempo more. They've put it a lot more inside, got a lot more easy looks in the paint. That pass to Tripp was epitome of that, right? You get an easy look inside. That's how you're going to pick apart this defense.
And defensively, we've seen a couple of turnovers from Johnson & Wales, most of them due to the defensive presence by the Lions. What have they done that's really stood out to you in the defensive end?
Man, the zone has been working. The zone has been working so well because this Lions team is so quick. They've been able to poke out seemingly everything. Wiseman's been doing a great job. Marlowe's been doing a great job, even in the paint, getting rebounds, staying scrappy. They've been doing a great job really all around.
Yeah, there was, just like we can't say it enough, right? We're down in height, but Silas Mulligan, Javi Marlowe, a couple of guards who are just playing huge down low, grabbing boards over a lot taller of offensive players, and that's been huge to close out these possessions early, not let Johnson & Wales get a bunch of possessions, a bunch of shots up, and they're keeping it fairly close. Yeah,
definitely. Between that first media timeout and the second media timeout, it seems like the offensive rebounding for Johnson & Wales was shut down. Obviously, that was because the big man in the paint obviously came out, so they had a little bit of an advantage, but much better rebounding prowess for the Lions in between those two timeouts.
Out of the media timeout, Lions have the ball. Patrick, the one to inbound, finds Wiseman on the corner, fires it short corner, rattles in and out, no good. One of those unlucky shots doesn't go the way of the Lions. Worthen now with the ball. Little pass fake, gonna go to the corner for Andrew, who kicks it back out to Worthen. Deep three-pointer, just short. Thompson jostling for possession, bodies flying everywhere. And the referee is gonna say off the hands of Patrick. So Johnson & Wales maintain possession. Inbound to Worthen. Trying to break the zone. They put a player at the top of the key. Worthen's just going to fire from the top of the key, and it lands for his first 3 points of the contest. Lead cut to 2. Lions still are ahead, 12-10. Just under 11 minutes of action left in the first half. Mulligan working inside. Picked up by Levy. He dumps off to a cutting Wiseman, and the nice finger roll on the opposite side falls in. And making those extra passes are the Lions continuing to just look for that extra man.
Yeah, the ball movement's been tremendous. Again, with this smaller group, that's an advantage you have.
Thompson contests the shot. Johnson & Wales clamoring for a foul, nothing called, and fast break once again for the Lions. Wiseman loves the corner, fires just off the front rim, no good. Lions continuing to fire if they see fit. And while the shooting percentage isn't where they'd like it to be at the moment, their confidence has not wavered. Levy now working against Marlowe. Gets a tip on the ball. And I believe we're going to call it out of bounds off the hand of Marlowe on the tip. So Johnson & Wales will maintain possession. Another rotation for both teams. Thompson and Mulligan check out. In come Hall and Darden. Darden, who started the game, we haven't seen much of. A little interesting there, knowing that he played a majority of minutes last season, potentially just fit-wise wasn't the right play, but a good defensive effort by the Lions force another Johnson & Wales turnover. Darden thought about the three-pointer, now works inside with the height mismatch. Dumps down low to Patrick, the lefty goes off the glass, no good. Hall on the board. Hall works inside, uses the athleticism to blow by, but no good on the layup. And the Lions, with 2 good looks there, can't find any points. Swung outside, three-point attempt contested. Levy, the one to fire it from the corner, no good. Wiseman has numbers. Little crossover, now dumps it off to Patrick, who's inside. And the Lions just gonna reset after what's been quite the couple minutes of fast-paced action. Marlowe's posted up on the high elbow. Hall decides instead to go to the wing for Darden. Drives inside, has the step on Levy, baits the pump fake and draws the shooting foul for 2. He'll head to the line, and Fisher Darden, a very reputable free throw shooter.
Yes, just overall really good shooter anyway, but 2 fouls total. I got to mention that in this entire game. We're 11 minutes through, and there's been 2 fouls, one by each side. This is the first time these two teams have really had a chance to calm down. This game has been really fast-paced, and that's, I think, where the depth for Coach Neely really comes into play.
Conditioning is going to be critical to see who's most fit and season ready, considering we're not, in January, we're not in February where we're getting to the latter end of the season. We're at the very beginning, so that off-season work that you put in with your own coaches, training to come back to campus, that's going to really shine in tonight's matchup, considering that, like you said, just 2 fouls have occurred in about 10-plus minutes of action. Hall, high pressure on Worthen. Worthen finds Levy and able to dump it off, and a kick ball by Marlowe stops the possession for Johnson and Wales. Levy to win the inbound. Worthen with it up top. Johnson Wales utilizing multiple pass fakes, and doing that allows for Levy to cut inside for an easy 2. Full man-to-man press for Johnson and Wales. Nothing too crazy as Escobar is just staying with Patrick here as he crosses midcourt. Hall on the curl screen, catches it at the top of the key, drives inside, left-handed lay, good off the glass. Lions lead increases up to 6 once again, 18-12, your score in the first half. Levy picks up his dribble. And intercepted by Hall. He can get up and throws it down. First dunk this season inside of Cave Arena, and probably the best candidate to do so. Cave Arena starting to get a little bit more lively as the Lions increase their lead to 8. Timeout called by Johnson and Wales. And Grant, now we're starting to see what the Lions really want to accomplish on the court.
Yeah, just speed and defense. Those are the 2 main keys, and that play was the epitome of that. Just getting easy takeaways. They're putting so much pressure on with this, a soft zone press, mind you, not a heavy press at all. They're baiting Johnson and Wales into throwing those easy to pick off passes.
They're trying to wait for them to pick up their dribble, and doing so, they get those interceptions like you said. And I mean, this team is athletic. They are getting to a lot of things, and they're just utilizing. We've seen a couple matchups on the offensive end where instead of, just taking a shot because they can, maybe they have space, they're utilizing their speed and quickness to try and blow by and generate a bit of an advantage. So Lions so far using not only their bodies but their brains as well in the early going. And Johnson and Wales just 12 points in over 12 minutes of play. It's been a struggle so far for the visitors.
And it's just getting shots up for them. They've struggled with turnovers. That's been due to the Lions' stellar defense, but when you're not able to get a lot of shots up, you can't score much. So
both teams ready to come out of the break. I'm sure head coach Greg Neely for the Lions didn't have much to say besides a couple of words of encouragement. Maybe let's hit some threes. Obviously, everything else is working pretty well. But floor spacing, especially with the group of 5 that they have out right now, would benefit them significantly. But they're doing well driving inside thus far. Lions going to sit back a bit, letting it be a half-court zone press. And Worthen able to bring it up for Johnson Wales, who gets ambushed and nearly able to get a turnover with the Lions, but instead an easy dump-down dunk for Hollandhead. Hall going to fire a 3 quickly on the other end, no good. Rebound Johnson and Wales. 4-on-3 break, pick from behind. Javi Marlowe gets it, and after a huge contest between the 2 players, they're going to have a foul call against Marlowe. Ethan Smith checking back in for Johnson and Wales. Levy's going to walk out and get a breather. 7.5 to go in the first half. In the season opener, Hall able to recognize the play. Tried to bounce it off of Escobar. Instead finds Darden. Cheeky Euro off the glass. No good. A little too strong there. Now Johnson and Wales with numbers. Goes for the alley-oop. Hollandhead, the intended recipient, no good. Ethan Smith able to get it after a jostle, and the ball seemingly flying from every direction goes out of bounds. Johnson and Wales maintain possession. (20-14) your score in Cave Arena. Smith the inbounder. Just going to send it on back to Worthen to reset the play. Worthen trying to work the split zone, instead kicks it out. Now dumped down to Hollandhead. Hollandhead immediately picked up. Smith, little fake jab, able to move the defender. Dumps inside to Hollandhead, picked up by Darden. Worthen drives inside, up and over the outstretched hands of Patrick, and it falls in for 2. Wiseman wasting no time, flies down the court and gets as easy as the lay as the other point. And Wiseman, able to score on both ends of the court, does just that once again. Machida finds Worthen. Lions continuing to increase the pressure on the defensive end. Little wraparound pass finds Escobar on the wing. Picks up his dribble, decides to fire from deep, and nothing but net for Escobar. Lead cut to 3. And out of this timeout, Johnson Wales are doing exactly what they needed to, and that's hitting shots. Darden gets the edge of Machida, and doing so draws the shooting foul. He's going to head to the line for 2. And Grant, out of this timeout, we've seen really nothing of concern from the Lions, but Johnson Wales have definitely picked up their play out of the timeout.
Yeah, their offenses kind of came alive a little bit. I think they were being shut down by the Lions defense, and an offense that's not alive right now in terms of three-point shooting is the Lions. They're 0-6 at this point in the game, so that needs to be stepped up if they want to kind of get a bigger deficit in this one.
Darden's first one falls. A couple substitutions here for the Lions. Hall and Marlowe going to check out. Tripp Thompson and Griffith Neville check on in. Six minutes and 14 seconds remain in the first half. Darden's second shot, good as well. Productive day from the line from him so far. Machida picked up by Patrick. Full court press has returned for the Lions. Machida picks up his dribble, able to find Worthen inside. Now they have numbers as Johnson Wales. Escobar, same spot, fires from 3, little long that time. And Lesh with the board. Thompson's wide open down low. Instead kicks it out to Darden. And the Lions seemingly had a fast break, but good defense by Johnson Wales shut it down. Thompson with it. Huge height mismatch against Worthen, but instead we're going to find Neville, who works inside against Hollandhead, kicked out to Darden now. And the Lions trying to crack what's been a very strong defensive possession by Johnson Wales. Neville's going to send a three-pointer over the outstretched hands of Hollandhead. No good. Worthen drives inside, swings it out to Escobar. Now it's Machida, picked up, dumped inside for Smith, and a foul called against Darden. And this is one of those concerns for the zone strategy, is if you get beat initially, there's a huge numbers mismatch. So Grant, if you're trying to work on that as a defensive coach, what would you try and tell your players?
I think you tell them don't overcommit, because obviously that's how you get those steals, but if you overcommit too much, you're going to get a lot of easy buckets inside, which, especially with a team with a height difference like this, is not something you want to see.
Good drive by Machida, finds the bottom of the bucket. Lions still lead by 3, 24-21, with 5 minutes to go in the first half. Bring up the ball is Zach Exley, who's checked in for the first time this game. Lesh comes over, Worthen immediately picks him up. Ball to the elbow, Thompson, and Lesh left wide open at time to do everything and prepare, and knocks down the free 3-point attempt. And Lesh has been quite the spark plug off the bench for the Lions thus far. Lesh and Exley at the top of the zone. Escobar the one to bring it up for Johnson Wales. Working on Exley is Escobar, who swings it out. Machida's three-point attempt falls, and after a slow shooting start from both teams, three-pointers are dropping from seemingly everywhere. Exley working against heavy pressure from Escobar, able to cross midcourt and dumps it off to Darden at the top of the key. Machida picking up Darden, who goes against the screen, nothing called. Darden then utilizes the screen, works around, kicks out to Neville, wide open for the 3, and it's bottoms. The Lions are starting to come alive from beyond the arc. Lead back up to 6 for Piedmont. Machida now, alley-oop to Hollandhead. And if there's one player you don't want to leave alone, it's Hollandhead down low. Free 2 points there for the Gowdy Center. Media timeout called once again, the last one of the half, under 4 minutes. And Grant, this gives us a chance to catch our breath. Now we're seeing not only fast-paced action, but a lot of points. After a very, very slow start, 56 points have been scored in the half. We're starting to see scoring increase. What's changed, if anything? I
think just teams adjusting to the pace of the game and the rims of this court. It is tough going into an away court and figuring out how to shoot in the rims. Depth perception is a big part of shooting. So obviously this is Piedmont's first home game. They've played here millions of times, but getting used to the pace of the game and the rims really helps you get your shots up and see them going.
And for the Lions, we saw back-to-back wide open three-point attempts. They're breaking apart the Johnson Wales defense pretty effectively. They found points inside. Now on the outside, what have you noticed that the Lions are doing to generate these open looks?
The attack is a bit more cohesive on the half-court set offenses. Obviously, their offense was a bit more fast break, transition-based, coming in that first or so media timeout. But now they started to figure out kind of how to pick apart this Wildcats defense.
The Lions utilizing all their offensive skill sets here in the first half. 30-26 your score as we leave the final media timeout in Cave Arena for the season opener. Your Piedmont Lions leading by 4 against Johnson & Wales. Just handed the stats, Grant. And Grant, anything standing out to you for the Lions? I know you just had about a millisecond to look at it, so.
Well, I mean, obviously steals is going to be a big thing. It's 7-0 steal-wise. So Lions defense, in terms of poking the ball out, is a lot better than Johnson & Wales right now.
Tough finish by Exley, able to drop in 2. And another thing that's standing out to me, Grant, especially for the Lions, is the spread offensively. No players really dominating in terms of the point totals, but a lot of players contributing.
And again, like Neely said, it's a team mentality. It's a collective offense in this team. He said certain players could bring their best, but most players, I think Fisher's the highest average on this team with 13. So they like to spread the ball around, get everyone involved.
After breaking down our stats initially, the Lions have switched from a zone defense to a man-to-man, and at least in the first possession, they've switched on every screen, so that'll be interesting, especially with Hollandhead checked in for Johnson & Wales. They might be looking for a height mismatch. Thompson able to affect Smith's shot, and no good was the attempt. Neville, the one to bring it up for the Lions. Lions lead by 6 after Exley able to drop in the layup a little bit ago. Neville working against Smith. Screen set by Thompson. Drives inside and hit from behind, says the referee. And Neville, I believe, will head to the line. Not sure if we've entered bonus just yet. Don't believe so. So the ball will be placed on the baseline. Exley the one to inbound. Calhoun checking back in for Johnson & Wales. Exley finds Thompson in the post. Thompson finds Mulligan. And Lions looking to space out once again. Quick drive by Neville, drawing the foul, and one as he slides into the backstop of Cave Arena. And Neville looking explosive in the early going.
He's pretty much Piedmont's big man without Thompson in the lineup. A really scrappy, very physical player. A big mismatch, honestly, in terms of his speed off the dribble. Very good at driving inside, and obviously was shown to perfection on that and one.
And we're going to see some more center action of Griffin Neville as Thompson steps out for likely the remainder of the first half. 2:30 to go here. Lions currently lead by 8 with a and one shot by Neville to go. Hall, the one checking in for Trip Thompson.
And I think at this point in the game, Neely's game plan is when Hollandhead's in, Tripp's going to go in as well. Because 6'8" on 6'8", you don't want to leave Hollandhead too wide open, like you said. With Griffin in there, obviously, he's a great basketball player. But with Hollandhead at 6'8", 6'9", and his athleticism, it's going to be a mismatch.
Neville's free throw is good. Lions lead increases to 9. Machida, the one with the ball, picked up by Neville. Wide open down low. And dropped in for 2 points is Onanme. Lions able to bring it across half court, no problem. Neville picked up by Smith, works inside once again. Steal attempt no good by Machida. Said dumped off to Exley, who works inside. Little hop steps enough to get by Smith. And Exley able to find a couple of good layups here in the first half. Lions continuing to take advantage of what is given to them. Lead back up to 9, 37-28 with about 90 seconds left. Lesh gets a hand on the ball, but Machida's still able to grab it. Kicked out to Smith, 3-point attempt, thought about it. Now it's going to be a step back over Mulligan, no good. Good defense there by Silas Mulligan to not bite. Neville, full steam ahead, works inside. Tells Johnson & Wales to get themselves back in the weight room as he shrugs off a much taller defender. Lions have now discovered a double-digit lead with just over a minute left to play. This is when they continue to turn up the intensity. Machida goes right back at Neville. Layup's going to go long, but a foul called against Griffin Neville, which will send Machida to the line for 2. And Grant, Griffin Neville, likely the story of the first half. I mean, defensively, offensively, he's been impressive.
Physicality is the one word for it. Defensively, offensively, rebounding the ball, going inside, getting those easy looks in the paint, and they really haven't been easy, but he's made them look easy. His physicality has been off the charts, and Johnson and Wills can't keep up.
First free throw by Machida does drop. 59 seconds left in the first half. Second free throw good as well. And the Lions lead stands at 9. Hall with it. Johnson Wills bringing back the 3/4 court press. Hall able to deal with Machida effortlessly. Mulligan, high elbow, working against Johnson and Wales. Drives inside. Calhoun picked his pocket. Now in transition are Johnson and Wales, and after gathering possession, a travel called. Hall placed himself perfectly in the way. 39 seconds left. Lions likely have one more shot, with the shot clock being 30 seconds at the NCAA level. Hall's the one to bring it up. Exley jumps it back off to him. Mulligan here to set the screen for Machida. Sends Machida the wrong way. 3-point attempt just left, no good. And Exley tried to elevate to get the board. Instead, finds the noggin of Oona. And the Lions will retreat back to half court. Javi Marlowe going to check on in for Griffin Neville, as well as Patrick's going to step on in for Caleb Lesh. Likely just a defensive setup for head coach Greg Neely, as one possession left, 25.2 seconds remain in the first half. Calhoun, the one going to bring it up for Johnson and Wales. Working down the clock, staying at midcourt. Under 11 seconds now. Screen sets. Exley fights it off. Switch for Hall. Calhoun essentially isoing. Works inside. Up and under. Layup no good. Exley with the board. 2 seconds left. He might be able to find something. Patrick with the layup. And just releases it too late. It's just unfortunate timing. It looked to be beautiful. It was a fantastic defensive possession. But the Lions unable to capitalize on a quick 2 points at the very end. So, with the first half running out of time, Lions head to the locker room up 9, 39-30. Grant, initial reactions from the first half for the Lions?
They've done exactly what they needed to. Getting takeaways on defense, playing quick like they're used to, getting points in transition. And near the end of that first half, they seemed to kind of figure it out offensively in those half-court possessions. A lot of threes being shot up as well, more efficient towards the back half of that half as well. So they look to continue that, especially with that high defensive pressure.
And we will break down more of the first half once we get our stats, and we're going to step away. But we're not going to be gone for the entirety of the 15 minutes that is halftime, because we're here to also celebrate some other Piedmont athletics. Today we're celebrating the women's tennis team garnering yet another conference championship victory last spring. And actually, I believe we're doing that right now. So we'll stay with you and not step away just yet, as I'm a member of the men's tennis team, so I've been able to see firsthand the success that this women's program have had. And with 4 straight rings, 3 of them in the new conference that has been created in the CCS, they have done a beautiful job continuing to display dominance and show what they're capable of on the tennis court. But for basketball, Grant, like you said, it's been impressive on both ends of the court. They started to find their shooting a little bit more late in the first half. Is there a player that you picked up on? We're going to bar Griffin Neville just because I feel like that's your innate reaction. Yeah. And is there anyone else that you may have noticed that really stood out?
I was going to say Marlowe. His defensive prowess has been insane, just getting the ball knocked out when the Wildcat players have it near their waist. That's frustrating as an offensive player, to just get the ball knocked out before you can even do anything with it. So he's getting in their heads and just playing scrappy.
And like we said, they did find their shooting, but ultimately they're shooting 20% from 3-point are the Lions, and Johnson Wales not doing much better, 4-15 for them beyond the arc. So both teams still struggling to find their shooting overall, but obviously the stats are a little skewed because of that slow start for both teams. And like you said, the steals and defensive efforts has just been so incredible. 7-1 is what it is at the end of the first half. And I mean, the zone presence, we didn't see a lot of steals, I would argue, last year. It was a lot of just making the defenses uncomfortable. I think it was a bit more of a conservative zone where they were just putting numbers advantage and pressuring those players when they picked up the ball. Here, it's a bit more all-out attack.
Yeah, you mentioned last year, you said the word methodical with offense and defense, and that was a great word for it because it's more conservative, like you mentioned, playing a lot more controlled, not as risky. This team is really risky, but it works for them because of their quickness.
And it seems to be just about time to celebrate the women's tennis team, who unfortunately will have our backs to us, but we have to please the home fans in attendance first, and then, of course, the broadcast second. So we're still more than happy to bring you exactly what you may be hearing if you're inside Cave Arena. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like to recognize the 2024 Piedmont women's tennis team as they are presented their CCS championship rings. Last season, the Lions captured their third consecutive conference tournament title and their second straight in the CCS. Piedmont was dominant all season, not losing a conference match in the regular season and cruising past Covenant for a 5-0 win sweep in the final as Abby Grace Venom was named tournament MVP. Join us in congratulating the following members of the team as they're given their championship rings. Jordan Ballard, Brooklyn Bolch, Olivia Carpenter, Danny Evans, Lizzie Ivy, Bree Laidman, Brooke Patton, Holland Ravensdorf, Drea Robinson, Sarah Rao, Marion Sloyan, Daisha Thompson, Abby Grace Venom, Chloe Wenzel, Dakota Wilkes, assistant coach Chase Morris, and head coach Trey Martin, one of the most successful coaches in the Southeast region. And there will be one more photograph for your 2023-2024 Piedmont Women's CCS champion for women's tennis. And for you viewers on the Piedmont Athletics YouTube channel, we're going to take a step away for the remainder of the 9.5 minutes until second half action returns inside of Cave Arena, where the Lions will look to continue their advantage out of the break. Stay tuned in about 9 minutes when we return. It's time to begin second half action in your home opener of Cave Arena. Simon Johnstone joined by Grant Prather. As Grant, we had quite the first half for the Lions. Very up and down is a nice way to describe it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the stats look great. One single turnover for Piedmont. Coach Neely is impressed, I'm sure. Their defense has been stellar, and the turnover differential is the reason they're up 9.
And considering that they play at such a high-paced offense like we saw in the first half, it's, like you said, impressive to just have one turnover. And another thing that we noticed was, like we talked about in the pregame, their height mismatch, at least in terms of just stats, but their points in the paint, their presence in the interior has been phenomenal.
Yeah, they've played really scrappy, and that's been the difference. They've done exactly what you need to do when you have a height differential, and that's play low. I mentioned before we broke for the half, getting those steals before the ball can get above somebody's waist. That's huge as a player. And
the last thing we're going to touch on right before we return to the action is Holland Head for Johnson and Wales, a player that we were keeping a heavy eye on initially at tip-off, has been put to sleep almost essentially by the Lions as he grabs an offensive board there, but ultimately under 10 minutes of action, played less than half of the first half. So Grant, do you think that's because the Lions have done a good job shutting him down, or maybe it's just not the right scheme against Piedmont?
I think maybe the Wildcats are trying to match the Lions' pace, and Holland Head doesn't really fit that narrative. That could be the reason why. Maybe he said something, coach doesn't like the way he's playing about some aspect of the game, but I'm not really sure, honestly.
Wiseman now with it on the top of the key, dumps down to Patrick, and does miss the layup, but a late foul call on the baseline will send Dylan Patrick to the line for 2. Lions, although just being about 80 seconds of action in the second half, have not allowed any points to drop for Johnson and Wales. They themselves have gotten 2 points on a quick layup right out of the break. And the Lions from the line may have to hold on to the stat until after Dylan Patrick finishes his 2 attempts, but if you're keen on the quote-unquote commentator's curse, you may be able to infer what I might say if this one drops, and it does. Lions continuing to be perfect from the line. They now stand 7 for 7, and they've always been a good free throw shooting team, but especially when you're undersized, you're going to draw a lot of fouls. You need to be able to get those points back.
And I think the players that have gone to the line for the Lions so far, the players that you want at the line, they're efficient. Obviously, Darden's had 4 of those.
Wiseman picks the pocket, heading with a full head of steam, dumps it to Patrick, 3-point in the corner for Darden, little bit long, back rim, no good. Calhoun with it now, blows by Darden, little Euro step, kick out to Smith. Another swing to Machida, immediately trapped by both Neville and Wiseman. And a free dump down to Holland Head, who went for a nearly unbelievable poster, but instead, Javi Marlowe is going to pick up the foul and send Holland Head to the line.
He's held his own against Holland Head. I think he's used his scrappiness to his advantage. Not too many fouls as well. He's only had, that's the 2nd foul, I believe, today, so he's not in trouble just yet, but eventually Holland Head's going to start getting to him, and Marlowe's going to have to start fouling him more.
And I'd say, if you're head coach Greg Neely, you live with a foul like that. You force Holland Head, who misses his first free throw line, to go and earn those points. You know, he's not going to get a bunch of free dunks, and they've kept him fairly dormant, just 6 points coming out of the first half, and likely going to be utilized a little bit more as Holland Head, especially with Trip Thompson not on the floor right now for Piedmont. Second free throw does drop. And Patrick gonna blow right by Johnson and Wales and immediately head to the rack where he's gonna get fouled by Holland Head and work himself to the charity stripe.
Looks like physicality might have been more of a focus for both of these teams at halftime, because we're already coming out and seeing 3 fouls early on when we only saw, I think, 3 or 4 in the first half early on. So physicality is definitely amped up. I think this could be a much slower paced half.
It was a very, very physical but fast-paced beginning to the game, as both teams were still attacking, but no fouls, no stoppages of play really being called on either end. This time, already our 3rd player to head to the free throw line as Patrick knocks down the first of 2, increases the lead up to 13 for Piedmont. Same starting 5 out for Johnson and Wales, and ditto for the Lions. 2 for 2 from the line. Piedmont continue to be impressive from there. Appling gonna send it on over to Smith, who's picked up by Wiseman, able to work inside a little bit. Now likely getting trapped and dumps it off to Calhoun. Appling fake pass, gets top of the key, mid-range look for Smith, instead drives inside. Spin move, double team. Calhoun from the corner is going to fire a little bit short there. Rebound, Patrick. The Lions with another strong defensive effort. Darden picked up by Calhoun. Little give and go play. Marlowe dumped it inside to Darden, and Darden's going to draw the foul and head to the line. Or actually, it will be on the floor rather. Foul just before the shot attempt went up. And Grant, another thing that I've picked up and likely you've seen as well is the off-ball action by Piedmont, and how has that helped them find these open looks?
I think once in the beginning when they started doing it, it helps more to get those give and goes and get those early connections. Helps your offense in the future, as well as just getting simple buckets like that foul. If not for the foul, would have been an easy layup for Darden.
You're absolutely right. Three-point attempt by Wiseman, a little long, and eventually flies out of bounds after Marlowe tried to keep it in play. So Johnson and Wales going to walk away. Machida driving inside. Heavy contest by Patrick, and a foul called there. Likely just a little bit too much body in contact with Machida. Machida's going to head himself to the line. And they've also, outside of Holland Head's missed free throw, been fairly consistent at the line as well. Now standing 3 of 4 from the free throw line. So Johnson and Wales taking care of business as well from there. First one drops. Still only 2 points allowed by the Lions defense in 3 minutes of play, both of which have come from the free throw line. So no live play buckets yet, which has been a fantastic start defensively for Piedmont. Full court man-to-man still being brought out by Johnson and Wales. Appling the one to defend Patrick. Dumped inside on the cutting Patrick, a little too long. Coach Neely upset for a foul call, nothing blown. Johnson and Wales finds Calhoun in the corner, pump fake, side step. Rattles in and out, but Holland Head's there for the free tip-in. And that's why boxing out is so critical when you're giving up a few inches of height down low. Grant, as a big yourself, don't you just love it when you can stand right next to that board?
It builds your confidence, and it also makes you less frustrated because you don't have to deal with the little guys. You know, those guys 5'11", 6 foot, those guards they're pesky.
They're a nuisance when you're down low. But situations like that for Holland Head, where you can just stand there and tip it back in, breathe a sigh of relief. Lead is standing at 10 for the Lions. Neville works inside, finds a wide open Marlowe on the wing. Three-pointer just short. But Neville grabs the offensive board once again, continuing to defy logic as he has been a beast on the glass all day. Pass, dumped down low to Marlowe, short arms the layup, but another turnover by Johnson Wales gives Wiseman a chance to fire from deep, in and out. And the Lions, after 3 beautiful looks, walk away with no points. Calhoun testing his distance. That one finds the bottom of the bucket. And a media timeout for our under 16, and the first time that the Lions can regroup and talk over the first 4 minutes of action. Grant, what are your initial reactions to this?
Offense have been extremely slow. A lot of missed layups. Patrick has really struggled getting layups today. Three-pointers, obviously, a couple missed shots in the last possession. That last possession is exactly not what you want to see going forward, so I guarantee that is what Neely is harping on right now, is we have to capitalize because we know that the Wildcats probably have a rebounding advantage in terms of height, and they won't give you that many second chances.
We try not to harp too negatively on the Lions, but like you mentioned, Dylan Patrick's been struggling a little bit. He does have 4 points coming from the free throw line, but on field goals, he's 0 for 5. It's been a tough day, like you said, at the office for Dylan Patrick, but he's more than made up for it defensively, and of course, his other teammates are picking up in the scoring column where he might not be contributing as much. Lions have walked away with 6 points in about 4 minutes of second half action, and for Johnson and Wales, they've walked away with 8 after a few free throw looks. They've started to really find their offense. So Grant, defensively, does anything need to change for the Lions, or do you think the Lions are doing enough to maintain their lead, but maybe just a bit more aggressiveness?
I think the aggressiveness going up would help. It worked in the first bit of the second half, and they've kind of toned it down a little bit, and that hasn't worked as well. Johnson and Wales has had too much time to set up their offense.
Full court man-to-man press brought out once again by Johnson and Wales. Appling the one, staying on Patrick. Patrick able to get across midcourt. Wiseman working on Calhoun, now finds Darden. Darden using his physicality, kicks it out to Neville, who drives inside, dump ball down to Marlowe. Couple of behind the back dump offs, and Neville with an easy layup put two Johnson & Wales players in the spin cycle. Lead grows back to 9 for the Lions. Appling gets by Wiseman, finds a wide open Ethan Smith, draws the pump fake on Marlos. Three-pointer from the corner, no good. Offensive board by Hollison, but a great play by Patrick, picks his pocket and able to shut down a free layup. Darden corner three, finds it and rattles in. And hopefully that gets some three-point shooting for Piedmont going. Smith now with it, right past half court, gonna just give it off to Appling. Appling to the corner for Levy. Appling still with it, Lions back in their zone defense. They've switched off from man-to-man once again. Levy, three-point attempt, no good. Offensive board by Hollinshead. And Darden, who nearly got the ball away from him once again, instead drew the foul on the wrist. And we will see some form of a stoppage. Both players going back to the bench. Unsure if it's a timeout or a media break. Either way, a bit of an icing for Hollinshead, who's starting to become a little bit more of a presence down low. Grant, what do the Lions need to do to try and keep him under control?
I would say if you're Neely, put Tripp in. A big force in the paint, about the same height as Hollinshead. Obviously, he's not as big. He's a bit more lanky, more outside base, but I think he's a good piece to neutralize Hollinshead. And Hollinshead, he has been making the mistake of leaving the ball near his chest and not keeping it high like most bigs are taught to do, and the Lions have been taking advantage of that.
Yeah, they've been very, very sneaky, poking balls loose from Hollinshead, and like we've said a million times, Neville's done a fantastic job, Marlowe's done a fantastic job, but there's only so much you can do when you're giving up about half a foot in height. So I would agree. I think Thompson needs to get a look, and I'm sure he'll be checking in sooner rather than later. He is on the bench, which likely means that he will be checking in. Stepping in, I believe, for Patrick, if I'm not mistaken, will be Thompson, as well as Caleb Lesh will be joining the court. Lions still maintaining a good lead. It stood at 12, and they've really not been cut close besides a 5-point brief moment where Johnson Wales kept it near, but then they blew back out ahead with a couple three-pointers. So Lions doing a fantastic job maintaining their lead so far in the second half.
A lot of that is due to the turnover difference. I'm saying conservative, not turning the ball over too much. That's how you hold a lead.
Hollinshead now steps to the line. He went 1 for 2 a little bit earlier at the start of the second half. First free throw finds Twine. Hollinshead with a very Giannis Antetokounmpo-like free throw routine. Second one hits off the front rim, and a couple bounces later falls in as well. 2 for 2 from the line, trims the lead to 10. Neville finds a cutting Darden, who works inside, and the ball did everything but land in. It looked to be a beautiful cut and pass, but instead no result, and a 5-point swing in favor of Johnson & Wales as Calhoun's three-pointer from the corner falls. Now the lead is trimmed to 7. Neville working inside, gonna kick it out to Thompson. His three-pointer from the wing, a little long, but offensive board for Darden keeps the possession alive. Bailey backdoor cut, free as they come right down the lane. And a beautiful pass by Darden gets a nice 2 points for Piedmont. Appling picked up by Lesh, continuing to stay in their zone coverage. Appling still with it now, finds Calhoun in the corner. He's been hot from that spot, that time a little short. Darden with the board, and Neely clamoring to push tempo. Lesh gonna find Neville, who's immediately gonna spot up for 3. Short, goes inside, off the leg of Johnson & Wales. Referee says different. And a discussion will be had between, I believe, 2 opposing views. We'll see what the official result is, and it will be called in favor of Johnson & Wales. Never mind, they changed the call again. She pointed towards Johnson & Wales, but instead it will be Piedmont's ball, which Grant, I believe, is the right call.
Yes, I saw it hit off a Wildcat's foot, so pretty easy call. A little bit of miscommunication. That play happened fast.
Lesh the one to inbound. We see one new face for Johnson and Wales, and that's going to be Givens Jr. checking on in for the first time this game. Owanme is also back in for Johnson and Wales, and Calhoun will step out. Holland Head, who I guess just got a sip of water, heads back onto the floor for the Wildcats. Sent out to Neville was the inbound. Thompson posted up on the elbow. Beautiful wraparound cut for Neville and a nice lay-in for two. The backdoor cuts and just working past their defender has been the recipe for success here for the Lions. And the passing as well, Grant, has just been very impressive for Piedmont.
Yeah, those give and goes have been absolutely lethal. It's such a simple play, but it works so well for them. They're using their speed, they're using their connected team mentality to their advantage.
Givens Jr. grabs 3 points right off the bench, wasting no time to get in the scoring column. Thompson with it now. Another wraparound play, this time well defended by Appling. Wiseman works on Givens Jr., picked up. Wiseman swings it across to Lesh. Appling's there to pick him up. Step back three-pointer, front rim, no good. Hollandhead did come down with it initially, and a jostle between Wiseman and Hollandhead will result in a whistle called and a technical assessed to Bailey Wiseman. I believe a disagreement to the call was resulted in a technical foul. Maybe too much jawing in the perception of the referee. This, of course, will result in a free throw and possession for the Wildcats. Grant, I personally didn't see anything elevate or escalate, but I don't know if you may have noticed something.
I didn't either. It looked like Adam Sandler out of anger management. Just getting pressured into maybe thinking he did something. I don't know.
Yeah, we saw Hollandhead go down. He was a little frustrated getting fouled. I mean, it's been physical down there for him. I mean, Lions are doing everything they can to make him uncomfortable. And that time, I don't disagree with the foul call. I think he did catch him on the way down, but there must have been some unpleasant words exchanged potentially by Wiseman that resulted in the tech. But like we said, nothing really escalated from the conversation. And as a result, Wiseman's going to take a breather. Hall is going to check in. The free throw did fall, so the lead is cut to 6. 54-48 your score with 12.5 to go here in the second half. Ball inbounded on the baseline. Appling brings it across half court, immediately picked up by both Lesh and Hall. Gets chopped. Givens Jr. dumps it down to Hollandhead. Back out to Appling, top of the key. He works inside. Drive in now by Levy, up and under, no good. And back to tip it in once again is Hollandhead. And this man, who was very quiet in the first half, has come alive after the first 20 minutes. Hall blows by Givens Jr., draws a foul near the sideline, by half court. And Grant, like we talked about initially, we saw a couple fouls in the early going. We're up to 9 already. That's past the entirety of the first half. We're not even halfway through the 20 minutes.
Yeah, both of these teams have been going inside a lot more and attacking the defense instead of going for those softer, more transition-based looks.
Fast break action. Hollandhead able to find Appling, who was wide open for the layup. Instead, smoked it deep on the pump fake. And the ball will eventually sail out of bounds, giving Lions the possession after this media timeout. We're going to take a quick breather along with them when we return. More second half action where the Lions now are in a bit of trouble, leading only by 4. Stay with us. We'll be right back in about 60 seconds. Welcome back inside of Cave Arena. Simon Johnstone joined by Grant Prather as we walk out of the under-12 media timeout. The Lions, who had a large lead, seemingly as high as 13 points, has now been trimmed to just 4 as we get into a bit tighter of crunch time here in the second half. Lions haven't lost their lead since they claimed it in the first half. They've continued to stay in front, but Johnson and Wales maintaining their presence, not to be dismissed. Neville wraparound cut looked to be good, but a little too heavy-handed, and that layup's going to sail. Worthen now working inside, going to give it back out to Givens Jr. Lions, I believe, are still in the zone. They are, in fact. It looked for a second like they might be in man. Givens Jr. given the three-pointer. No good there, and a couple of tips around. Darden, the one to grab possession for the Lions. Gets to go coast to coast on the rebound, and the nice inside lay with the left hand finds the bottom of the bucket. Lions extend the lead back up to 6. Olanme passes out to Worthen. And inside is a wide open Hollandhead. It's one of the tough setups when you have a zone coverage, especially with Thompson up at the top of the keys. You can bait him a little bit higher, and all of a sudden Hollandhead's wide open down low. Thompson, spin move on Hollandhead. Nice little floater lay. And it's a battle of the bigs brewing here late in the second half. 10:30 to go in regulation. Givens Jr. to Onme. Back to Givens Jr., works inside. Thompson picks him up. Worthen, little 360, gets inside, and Hollandhead on the weak side gets another put-back lay. Lead standing at 4. Wildcats keeping full court press, but Isaiah Hall goes inside. No good as the layup tried to go around Hollandhead as he set up for the charge. Worthen goes in, nothing called. Neville with the deflection and steal. Hall's got pace, he goes inside. Pass Givens Jr., left-hand lay goes in. Piedmont back up by 6, under 10 to go in regulation. Neville goes for the poke on Givens Jr., but the ball does cross half court. Lions now returning to man-to-man. This puts Thompson directly on Hollandhead. This might be the recipe to keep him out of the post. Wildcats using a screen from Hollandhead. Worthen tries to blow by Lesh. Instead, we're going to see a travel assessed to Worthen. Worthen, I believe, was arguing for a foul call. Nothing given. And the Lions, with a large substitution here, gives a couple of players some well-needed rest. Grant, that last 3 minutes, that was a total 180 in terms of pace.
Yeah, I think it's really sped up. I think that's how the Lions need to remain to play. The rest of these 9 minutes, that is their motto. They play fast. Simple as that.
It's fast, but under control. Patrick checks back in. Exley is seeing the court in the second half for the first time. Thompson's still out there for the Lions. And the last two rounding out the 5 on the floor is Hall and Silas Mulligan. Hall, jab step inside, gets absolutely chopped by Olanme. And Hall is going to head to the line for 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Hall is a righty, correct?
Yes.
He has been utilizing his left hand.
Yeah, he is, I mean,
very impressive.
With the finishes, yeah, he's almost ambidextrous. And using his athleticism to get in for the foul, he's been doing a great job of that today because he's got the highest vertical on the team, I'd assume. I have to ask Coach Delph officially, but he's so athletic, and he's been using that. And we didn't see him a lot last year. Obviously, we saw a near poster in here against Warren Wilson on 3 defenders when he's showing that ability.
I was just going to say, if you're a returning viewer from last season, Izzy Hall didn't get a lot of playing time, but what he did, he made it count. He was very impactful on both ends of the floor, and like you said, his vertical, watch out on the open floor. He can do something special. At the free throw line, he's also very consistent, 2 for 2, and the lines remain perfect from the line, not letting any points go to waste. Staying in man-to-man is Piedmont. Shimo gives it to Exley. Little dump down pass. Now given back out to Worthen, drives inside. Mulligan, good contest. Late foul call is going to be assessed, which will send the Wildcats to the line. Grant, I see a bit of a tense up from that one. Silas Mulligan did leave his feet, and I'm staying objective here. Explain to me why you think it would have been a fair play, good defensive play.
I could have missed it, but what I saw was defenders staying straight up. Obviously, it's going to be a foul if you lean into his shooting motion, so maybe they were going straight up but going forward at the same time. That could be the call, but to me it looked clean. I'm not a ref, though, so don't.
It's one of those tough things to call in the moment, though, and it was definitely one of those tighter decisions. Worthen's first shot wasn't good. Second one does drop, so the lead stands at 7. 62-55, just under 9 minutes to go. Patrick gives it off to Exley. And Patrick wide open, instead drives in, goes left hand, blocked by Worthen. Johnson and Wales have numbers. Here comes Owanme. Thompson elevates. Thought he got the block, but instead a shooting foul called, and Owanme is going to send himself to the free throw line for 2 shots.
That one's a bit easier to call. Just a little bit easier. Big swat by Tripp. Obviously, I think his right arm leaned into it. The left arm got the ball, but easy foul call.
When he got up.
He did.
A couple other things happened outside of the block.
Yeah. Some extracurriculars.
An impromptu cleaning session there by Ethan Smith, utilizing our lovely floor mops, making sure everyone's safe, no one's in danger. This gives us a chance to update you on the 5 for Johnson and Wales. Owanme at the line. On outside the arc is Worthen and Escobar, and then down low is Machida, and Ethan Smith. Johnson and Wales not utilizing as much of the bench as we see from Piedmont. Do you think that's, what do you suppose that may be? Just coaching decision?
Probably just coaching decisions, yeah. Maybe there were some players that, maybe weren't up to their coach's par in practice. And sometimes coaches just like to run a shorter rotation, 7, 8, maybe 9 players, so that could be part of it.
Exley's going to drive inside and tried to dump it off. Instead gets a deflection off of a Wildcat, so the Lions will maintain possession. Owanme did go 1 for 2 from the line. Wide open is Hall, but a little too late on the pass, and Hall is just going to get his pocket picked. Lions still with it, though, down low. Exley going to do the same play instead. That one's not open. He has to inbound, finds Hall in the corner. Hall now going to work up to the top of the key. Looks for Thompson, doesn't give it to him. Instead, waves off Mulligan. Now on the wing, screen set by Thompson. And mid-range attempt by Hall, little long. Thompson goes up, no rebound there, and here come the Wildcats the other way. Machida with it on the wing, dumps down to Owanme. Owanme, little pump. Thompson's up in his face, and a good defensive play by Tripp Thompson. Shuts down that effort by Machida. Hall cut inside, got nudged instead of turnover as it's stolen by Worthen. Exley, a little bit too much nudging, working himself down, and that's one of those fouls we don't really like because we're now in the bonus, and with 7:43 to go in the half, that's not the best situation to find yourself in with the lead.
Yeah, like you said, the lead. I just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say exactly that. 62-55, 7 points with a bonus for 7 minutes left is big, because then that means any foul you commit, they're going to automatically have a 1-and-1, and eventually, probably, will have 2 free throws officially.
Now, the good news is they've been fairly good at the line, have the Wildcats, but not perfect, so there are some chances to take fouls if need be. Of course, you want to never foul, but in some situations, like we saw with Holland Head in the first half, sometimes it's wiser to take the foul. There aren't really any players in foul trouble, at least based off our last stats. I believe our number 1 player would be, I think it's 2 fouls so far,
yep,
based on our statistics right now. We'll have them updated in a brief moment. But to my understanding, there's no player in foul trouble just yet. Of course, the number is 5 to foul out at this level. So the Lions can continue to stay aggressive, just keeping in mind that we're in the bonus. So we're handed our stats. And no player has 3 fouls for the Lions, just a couple with 2. That's going to be Javi Marlowe, Bailey Wiseman, as well as Silas Mulligan. Everyone else 1 or 0. So no concerns, as well as Zach Exley also has 2. Very, very guard-heavy lineup out there for Coach Greg Neely. Hollandhead's out there, no Tripp Thompson. Interesting structure, likely going back to zone would be my interpretation of the 5 out there, Grant.
I think what they're trying to do is up the tempo and secure the win before it gets to a tight, close game, because the Wildcats have the height advantage. You don't want to be stuck with Hollandhead and no Tripp Thompson with a minute left.
Bonus for the free throw, no good. Rebounded by Marlowe. And I think this idea is actually to take charge on the offensive end, as like we've seen, all 5 of these players on the court are aggressive at cutting inside, and all of them can shoot it too. So a good recipe for offense. And when you have someone like Griffin Neville, who plays like someone who's 6'10" and a 6'3" body, it's a very, very good thing to have as a guard. Machida picked up by Marlowe. The Lions do go back to man. 3-point attempt by Escobar. Good in the corner. Exley was there, but a better shot and a quicker release lets it drop in. Leads trimmed to 6, 64-58 your score. 7 minutes to go in regulation. High elbow given to Marlowe. Now picked up by Worthen. Patrick on Hollenhead, drives inside and blocked by Hollenhead, and that's what a height advantage can do for you down low. It was a good drive, just better defense, and Escobar will now check on out for the Wildcats. In comes Calhoun. Patrick on the inbound, working on Hollenhead. Beautiful pass to the back door for Patrick, and those backdoor cuts have been working perfectly for the Lions. Intercepted by Patrick. He's on the fast break. Worthen tries to chase him down, but instead puts him on a poster. And Dylan Patrick just elevated and generated some serious noise in Cave Arena. The lead grows to 10. Timeout Wildcats. Grant, talk about a momentum shifter.
Sealed it. That was such a huge swing in this game to try to keep your lead. You're down 7 to make it 10. With that fires everybody up on the bench. It's kind of been dormant. You know, the bench has been low energy. It's been kind of methodical in terms of scoring, and then that changes everything.
And we're talking about a play that started on the defensive end with a substitution like we talked about, utilizing the athleticism. We saw that on full display right there in about 3 seconds, where you get a nice pickpocket at midcourt, and 2 seconds later you're putting some poor kid on your screensaver because, my goodness, did he elevate with the left hand.
And at first I was thinking, oh, maybe you should go for a layup, and then he got up.
Yeah, I noticed Worthen wasn't giving up on the play. I was like, this could be potentially a chase down, a la LeBron James 2016. Yep. But instead, Dylan Patrick said, "Excuse me, this is my moment. Thank you very much." Like you said, Lions lead grows to 10, 68-58. Your score with about 6.5 to go in regulation. The same 5 continue to stay out there for Piedmont. And Johnson and Wales, undeterred by what has come since this new 5 has been put up by the Lions, will continue to try and utilize their height with Ethan Smith out there, Machida out there, and Hollenhead. And as you can see on your screen, Cave Arena has been full for the majority of the day, and we could hear them after that play. The Lions, though, still have 6 minutes of tough work ahead of them to try and grab the first win of the home opener here in Cave Arena. Worthen with the ball. Now gives it off to Machida, tipped by Marlowe, but a foul called as Hollenhead hits the deck. I believe it's going to be assessed to Silas Mulligan. It will be, and that will be his 3rd foul, and it will also send Hollenhead to the line. Hollenhead, his 3rd trip to the line so far. He's shooting 50% to a 4. And these are the most beautiful situations to be in if you're a Wildcat, but you have to take advantage with the clock stop and a chance to cut the lead down. You need to make sure you're taking care of business. Hollenhead's free throw attempt, no good. Silas Mulligan with some big body moves down low, able to utilize his strength to get past Ethan Smith for a nice lay. Lions extend the lead back up to 12. Mulligan provided the task to defend against Hollenhead, and he is being as physical as you can be. Driving inside is Worthen. Mulligan with the contest, and that is quite the defensive possession by Silas Mulligan. Dylan Patrick arguing for a foul. Instead, the ball is going to continue with the Lions. Neville's going to give it out to Marlowe. Marlowe driving inside. Machida the one to pick him up. And a beautiful right-handed layup falls for the Lions, and they can seemingly not miss down low. 14 points is the lead for Piedmont. Bench starting to get a little bit more active for the Lions. Machida gonna try and cut the chance with a three-pointer, no good. Rebound Exley. Cross pass to Neville, he's flying full steam ahead, left-handed lay goes in. And the Lions are flying up and down the court. 74-58, under 5 minutes to go. This seems to be the recipe for success, utilizing their aggressiveness, their athleticism. Machida drives inside. Picked the pocket was Marlowe, and a travel called against Machida. Couple substitutions here for both teams. Fisher Darden is going to walk onto the floor, taking out Zach Exley. And Machida is going to take a breather alongside Worthen. Checking back in is Calhoun and Levy. Full court press being brought out. Dylan Patrick picked up by Appling, full court. Patrick waves off Darden. Blasts to the left side. Nobody down low to pick him up, and a free left-handed layup goes in. The lead swelled up to 18 in seemingly 2 minutes. And the Wildcats starting to scratch their heads, wondering what's going on. Ethan Smith fires a three, no good. And Lions continuing to do what's best for them, and that's push with numbers. Euro around Smith, but he's going to be initially blocked, but rather called on a foul. And that will send Silas Mulligan to the line. Sometimes when you're playing basketball, it's kind of like playing Monopoly. You pick up a chance card, and sometimes it says get out of jail free. And that's one of those situations where some Piedmont fans might agree with that.
It's a good analogy.
Some Wildcat fans might disagree with that.
That's a good analogy.
Can't argue with the decision. Mulligan's going to head to the line. I'm now going to try and sprinkle no comments on how the night's been from the charity strike. That's fantastic. It was so due to happen with how much I've been speaking about it, but the Lions have had a very good day at the line. Mulligan hits this. The lead would increase to 19. Largest of the game. Free throw rattles in and out, no good. Hollandhead, the one with the board, who is now checked back in. Calhoun with a shifty move, but instead hits off the back of his leg. And Marlowe forces the turnover on Johnson & Wales. Johnson & Wales undeterred, continuing their full court press. Grant, I have to ask you, would you say the full court press is the answer to try and shut down the Lions here?
It's the only option. Down 18 with 4 minutes left, it's all you can do because you can't just sit back, let them milk off 25 seconds off the clock and take all that time away. Release, oh my goodness.
Hollandhead shuts down Mulligan. Darden's three-point attempt, no good, but Neville, who else but Neville, able to grab another offensive board. Marlowe dumps it down to a cutting Patrick, who gets hit in the face, and the high angle lay falls in, and Dylan Patrick, have yourself a second half, my goodness. He's gonna head to the line. The lead is now standing at 20. Under 4, media timeout called. My goodness, Mr. Grant Prather. What has happened to the Piedmont Lions in the most positive reaction possible?
Energy, simple as that. As soon as Patrick had that poster, he's came alive. He had a very slow first half. I mentioned a lot of missed layups, and ever since then, besides the one block, he has been on fire.
And speaking of on fire is the entirety of the Piedmont offense. Last time we were handed the stats, the score stood at 62-55. They're on a 16-3 run. And let me try and grab the time really quick. I can't find
4 minutes.
Oh, 7 minutes. A 4 minutes, 16-3 run. That is what these Lions are capable of doing if their shooting's falling, if they're staying as aggressive as they are, and obviously we know what they can do defensively. I mean, last year there was clamors when they played Coastal Carolina about utilizing Coach Neely's defensive scheme at a Division I level. So they're a very strong defensive team, and if they can continue to perform what they do on the offensive end, who knows what the ceiling is for this team.
Exactly. Neely mentioned also to start the year that this team is so young, so they've been able to practice extremely hard in the fall, and that's translated to very quick pace to start the year. That was one of his keys to their season.
No surprise to anyone, the same five are out there, but there seems to be a substitution on its way for Tour Overton checking in. Based off this, it's likely for the shooter Dylan Patrick. whose and one free throw shot does land. And outsteps Dylan Patrick, who we now have a chance to look at some of his stats today. He's 4 of 10 from the field. Like we said, he struggled at the start, but my goodness, is he turning around 12 points on the day. He's got 5 boards to go alongside with that and an assist. So it's a very productive day from a slow start. Wildcats sort of utilizing the bench a little bit here. We see a couple new faces we haven't seen just yet. Cooper Wiley and Cameron Hunter, the 2 players checking on in for Johnson & Wales. Little midi lefty shot by Cooper Wiley is a little too short. And that one is going to roll out of bounds for Fisher Darden after a bit of a collision with Levy. Appling the one to inbound. Wildcats trail by 21 with 3:13 to go. Joust contest between Darden and Levy. It's getting physical down low, and instead a travel assist against Levy. And if you're a Wildcat player, you're starting to think, what can I do to get called for a foul? They're in the bonus. They had 9 fouls at some point throughout this half, and all of a sudden nothing is being called for shooting. And it's one of those moments where you maybe have to start shooting a little bit more, stretch the floor. Speaking of, Neville's 3-point attempt, top of the arc, no good. Looked to be dropping in, but just a little too much clanging on the rim. Appling, short floater, no good on the Darden contest. Here comes Mulligan. Overton, full head of steam. Instead dumps it off to Mulligan. And it was one of those tough plays. I think Overton thought he might have gotten chased down by Wiley. Instead tried to find Mulligan, and a bit of a miscommunication there. All smiles, though, for the Lions bench. Checking in for the Lions are 2 new faces. Number 11, Grady Robertson, is checking on in, as well as Lane Vance. And finally, Noah Hutchinson, who, Grant, you spoke about this in the pregame. A bit of injury concern starting off. It's great to see him out there on the floor.
And it's good to see Tripp out there taking his place, because Hutchinson was pretty much slated to be one of the big threats in the paint, and Tripp's been doing a great job taking over.
Javi Marlowe gets the free inbound lay-in, and the Lions are marching themselves toward a beautiful home opener victory here in Cave Arena. The lead stands at 13 with 2:35 to go here in regulation. Grant, how about we start breaking down a little bit what the Lions did, because they go into the half leading by 8. Now they're up 23. What was it? Like you said, energy, but what did you see on the court maybe that shocked you or stood out?
I think they figured out when they needed to attack and when they needed to lay off, especially after that dunk by Patrick. They started attacking. Johnson & Wales looked extremely lackadaisical, extremely slow, extremely out of it, and Piedmont just took full advantage. That was part of that 16-3 run.
It was one of those situations where they almost smelled blood in the water, and next thing you know, they just erupted. Like we said, 16-3 run in 3 minutes. That is absurd at every level. So the Lions, like you said, capitalized when they needed to, and they were also efficient in that situation. Another new face checking on in for the Lions. It's going to be number 20, Dominic Rumler, who's seeing the court for the first time. Foul assessed to, I believe, Rumler. Shooting foul. Appling, the one to head to the line.
And I mentioned during the scrimmage when we saw Rumler out there that Rumler is almost a carbon copy of Jeremiah Carter-Johnson from last year. Big presence in the paint, very physical.
And for those of you that may not have seen last season's action, Jeremiah Carter-Johnson, a very large big, utilizes his body very well, smart, absolute force on the glass, especially when paired with Joe Hellenbrook. So the fact that you see a little shade of him is a very, very good sign for Rumler and the Lions' future. Overton going to bring the ball across the halfway line and gets a nice little rush-in lay. Instead, the layup goes long. Rumler gets the offensive board, and collision by Overton knocks down Cooper Wiley, and a foul given to Arturo Overton. That means Wiley will head to the line. 21 points with 2 minutes to go is the difference. Another new face checking in for the Wildcats. It's going to be Brandon Cherry. Both teams have essentially cleared the bench as much as you possibly can. Of course, you can't put, your whole bench on the floor. That would be fun. It would be really the definition of garbage time then. First free throw, no good. Wiley steps up for the second one. Hits off front rim, but does land in. Inbound to Vance. Given to Overton. Hutchinson on the curl up top. Overton's going to keep it though. High pressure by Cherry at midcourt. Overton does get by him. Good screen by Rumler. Dropped low for Robertson at the free throw line. Cuts inside. No good on the layup. Rebound Wiley. Wildcats come the other way. Cherry three-point attempt short. Overton gets the board. Rumler's in the open floor. Dump pass down to him. He elevates. Wanted the two-hander. Maybe just one more week in the gym would get him up there, but he does get a nice right-hand layup instead for two. Rebound Robertson. Overton already stepping past half court. He's wanting to push tempo. Hutchinson with it, gives it back out to Vance. And the Lions just continuing to work the clock with 60 seconds left in regulation. Pass deflected. Robertson regains his own pass. Pump fake, gets the open look. No good. Overton with the board, drives inside, kick out to Rumler. Rumler, beautiful jab step, swings again. This time to Robertson, goes into the chest and gets the 2 points, goes straight through Cameron Hunter for two. 85-61 your score in Cave Arena. The Lions will walk away with the home opener victory. A good sign for things to come for this young Lions team. Foul called on the floor, I believe against Overton. It will be assessed to him. That will still send Wiley to the line, considering we are now at team foul number 11 for Piedmont. First free throw attempt, short, no good. We apologize for the obstruction on our camera angle. But you do get to see a nice display of head of hair. So if there's something to take away, maybe it's a new hairstyle you can experiment with. Who knows? Wiley does go 1 of 2 from the line, so the lead now stands at 23. Shot clock turned off. Overton just going to hold on to the ball here, and that will conclude your home opener in Cave Arena, where the Lions, in a game where it stood close for so long, erupted for that incredible run like we continue to speak about. And that was enough to seal the deal and start them 1-0 on their 2024-2025 campaign, where there are some high hopes to maybe make some movements in the CCS this year.
Yeah, this team is really fun to watch in the best sense of the word. I think they're really controlled together. They have tremendous chemistry, and the speed they work at is insane, and it works really, really well. That dunk by Patrick epitomizes it. Once you saw that electric type of play, they took advantage. They used that speed.
And Grant, what are some things or maybe some players that stood out to you in tonight's matchup?
Obviously, Dylan Patrick, specifically in the second half, his first half was pretty slow. Javi Marlowe on the defensive end. Lesh and Darden had a seemingly slow day, but they did their thing, right? They didn't really have a bad game necessarily. Also, of course, turnovers is a big thing. The Lions played extremely efficiently, minimized turnovers, and that helped them win by 23.
I would say as well, like you said, Darden and Lesh both didn't really have a star-studded day. There wasn't anything where they had dropped 20-plus points, but each player did what they needed to do. You mentioned a bunch of names. Griffin Neville, another one that comes to mind. He was an incredible presence down low where, like we said, they gave up a lot of height, and that was a coaching decision by Coach Neely, especially late when they burst out of that run, and it, of course, appeared to be the right answer and recipe for success for the Lions to come away with the victory. Final score, 85-62. Your Lions now stand 1-0 in the regular season officially. If we look ahead to the schedule, once I find it through my plethora of papers, there we go. Next time we will have a game will be the 19th against Sewanee. That will be here this upcoming Tuesday, so make sure to join us for the broadcast or maybe in person at the Demorest campus of Piedmont University. Grant, just handed the final stats. I know I love to give you about half a second to read and react Is there anything that catches your eye? You talked about turnovers, specifically 14-3.
Yep.
Talk about how much of an impact that has.
I mean, 3 turnovers, that's only, let's call it 2 points per possession per turnover, right? That's a 6-point difference for the Lions. For the Wildcats, that's 28. And guess who won by 23? The team that had 3 turnovers, eliminated them. So that was the main difference.
Yeah, and that's probably what really stood out. I mean, like we said, we can't talk about individual performances enough, but it really was a team game here today. Is Griffin Neville the one to be interviewed for, I believe, Piedmont's player of the game, and I can't disagree with that decision. But for today's broadcast, we thank you for tuning on in to our home opener in Cave Arena. For Grant Prather and the wonderful team spearheaded by Daniel Percival down low, and huge shout out to our coworker Eric Edmondson bringing us the stats at every single break. We thank you so much for tuning in, and this is Simon Johnstone saying we'll see you next Tuesday. Go Lions.